to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do have a quorum. I will call the meeting to order at 7:13, or 8:13, I'm sorry. So I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Moved, second. Any discussion? All in favor signify with an aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the board meeting motions and minutes of June 17th. Okay. Forrest moved and you second, Glenn. Any discussion? All in favor signify with an aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right, 3 minutes for owners to address the board. Tilly Winchester.
Okay, it's probably a little more than 3 minutes.
That's all right.
Would you mind? Oh, okay.
You want to come up here and speak into
Okay, hi, I'm Tilly Winchester, if you don't know me. I resigned last month from the board, and I just basically, being an educator, wanted to educate you on what I learned, and hopefully you can take it for what it's worth, because it's my perspective. All right, so first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our office staff, Haley Harlow, who had, and all the volunteers who got us through the busiest time of year in July. I mean, Haley was a camper, and I want to recognize her. And to all the volunteers who came up and answered phones and helped her out there, I really appreciate that. I want to preface everything that I say is this is my perspective and what I experienced as a board member. Please take my sincerest apology for not fulfilling my duties as secretary, but our system of a volunteer board has progressed to a full-time job. If you do what is required to be an effective voice for the property owners, I don't have that kind of time. I was putting 20, 30, 40 hours, and it's a volunteer position. I wanted to bring the community together and hope that each of you here takes a hard look at those who post negative, divisive, and downright destructive information for our community. I'm not telling you who to vote for or who to support. That's your decision, but just wanted to educate you on what I witnessed while I was on the board. We paid for 3 office staff at 18 hours per day, times 4 days, Tuesday through Friday, which is 72 hours, and 4 hours on Saturdays, which is a grand total of 76 hours. There's not 76 hours of work needed for a POA office. We have too many people in the office. We could cut some of those hours or have some evening hours and things like that. But proof of that is that since June, we've been running the office with 1 person with the assistance of volunteers. And then until just recently, we had a second person who works about 10 hours, 12 hours a week. Now there have been some lapses in services due to the knowledge of how things have been done for the past for ACC and rules. So if we had had a professional management team, they would have had personnel to keep our office running smoothly. They would be able to work around our vacations, medical, and leave of absences, and it wouldn't have been a burden on the board members in our program. You do not realize how much of a burden it was to try to keep our office open with 1 person who didn't know everything, all the workings of the office. It was horrible. In 2023, Karen was on the board, and she was the chair of admin, and her background included a 15-year tenure as the director of billing and accounts receivable managing $80 million at Washington University School of Medicine. Karen was trying to implement best practices in the POA office to be more productive and efficient in the day-to-day work. Our current treasurer, John, worked for ADP. His skills he brought to the community were payroll, implementation, and financial service, production, control, etc. One would have to say that he's well qualified to be in the treasurer position. He asks questions, tries to implement new processes and efficiencies, and what happens? People go on social media and bash him and discredit him. Kudos to you, John, for hanging in there. I couldn't do it. John? John has been nothing but forthcoming and has always answered questions about the why and the how, but some of these people are ruthless. Our expert board members who were volunteering their expertise to help make Raintree great. The board is elected to do what's best for Raintree, and the office needs to work with the board and for the board. You can't say they're independent and yet depend on the POA board for their pay, directions on processes, implementation of covenants, rules, and bylaws that are all governed by the elected board. Teamwork. Until about 3 months ago, I thought the board was working well. Each board member signs a code of ethics form in which one of the points says, "Do my best to ensure that Raintree Plantation is well maintained, financially secure, and always operating within the best interests of those we serve." Since June, we've had a couple of board members who feel empowered to divide our board and our community. When those board members didn't get their vote on the professional services decision, they took to the keyboard and started bashing board members and professional services on social media. Instead of sitting down and talking to the officers who vetted these companies, they went out on social media to discredit all management companies. Previous board members also chiming in on things they don't have all the information about and blasting particular board meetings. I would have thought, as a previous board member, you would have some respect and honor for those serving on the board, just like you would have wanted for you when you were serving. They have turned neighbor against neighbor. Shame on you. We are getting things done, and now we have implied mistrust and confusion to our community. If this assessment doesn't pass, I would blame you two on those who have tried to discredit all the work the board has done. In the beginning, I tried to see what property owners wanted, and on through social media, the owner's concerns, likes, and dislikes. But social media in this community is so destructive. It is negative and addicting, toxic, not healthy for anyone who wants to know factual information about the POA board. Just because you attend board meetings, your interpretation of what was said can be biased or misleading or even misinterpreted. Rather than spending your time and energy complaining on social media, use it to write a constructive email to the board. Call or talk to them in person. We had a past board member who understood what it took to improve our roads, and social media ran him off because he knew what was best and he tried to protect our community from lawsuits. At the April town hall meeting, the realtors have shared our negative social media post impacts potential buyers. Who would want to invest in a community that is so miserable? If you hate it here, move. You can get top dollar right now. If you're so miserable, life is too short to be miserable. It is. I choose to be happy. I hope you choose to be happy. All the owners who come to board meetings, town hall meetings, wrote emails and talked to the board, have talked to us directly, gave us input on this All In for Raintree. So it was not determined by this board. We had town hall meetings. We got input. We cannot survive with the amount of revenue in our current assessment levels. I think everyone can agree that our assessments are too low to maintain the quality of our neighborhood. That being said, this board has spent countless hours researching, recommending things to improve our community. They've taken action. They got bids from contractors on roads, lakes, and security. They had numerous committee meetings for owner input and brought back recommendations to the board. Dave and John started crunching the numbers to see what amount of assessment we need in order to take care of our lakes, roads, and security issues in the way property owners recommended through meetings, data, and research. The amount was based on the items that was presented in the 5-year plan and for Raintree. My advice for the future is, from what I've learned, Raintree has grown and the demands of property owners is great, and in order to address their needs, we need professional help. An impartial office who has the professional skills, has no skin in the game, will be priceless to our communities thriving to be the great community it is. Raintree needs an unbiased office, one that is neutral in elections and does not promote one candidate over another. A professional management team offers comprehensive accounting service, accountability, and ultimately cost savings because they are professionally trained and have the right skill sets we need. Just as important, there will be a seamless transition from year to year despite new or inexperienced board members. It would be a consistent and be professional. Professional service company has enough staff to work around vacations, illness, medical leaves. The board admin, I was board admin, is not responsible for being and for hiring and firing of personnel, not responsible for getting hours covered, bills paid, accounting, answering phone calls, emails. Being on the board is a volunteer position, not an office management service. And that's what I felt like I was doing. And we need help. And those of you that, our office staff, I love them both, love them. They're great people. You can be a great person, but you may not be able to do the job in the way that is needed, or you have the skill set. You need to be trained, or whatever it may be. So for those running for the board, I encourage you to become more educated on the issues, the processes, and your vision for the direction you want Raintree to go. Embrace technology and modern practices. Put out as much information as you can, recordings, committee updates, etc., to the community. And when you vote in this election, please take a good look at the candidates. The skills they bring to the community and keeping things the way they were is not only wasteful spending, inefficient, and a continuation of the drama Raintree is known for. There should be a meet and greet and a video of each candidate so you can see and hear from the ones who are running from the board. Is that still, are we doing that?
Yeah.
So as for me, I hope I made a positive difference by serving the board the past 10 months. I hope our improvements continue. We as Raintree owners should demand it, and I choose to live here and be happy.
All right, unfinished business and new business. For unfinished business, what?
Can I,
Oh, go ahead.
can I ask that we need to amend the agenda and add the approval of the invoice for the gate damage that the owner did?
Okay, so you making a motion to amend the agenda? All right, so that's under unfinished business. Gate vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify with an aye.
Hold on a second. Oh, we're just doing the agenda, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
All approve?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Yes.
Who do we have on call, on Zoom?
Glenn and Denny.
Okay, thank you.
All right, go ahead, John.
Back in July, an owner damaged 8 cameras here. I believe there is a police report filed on it, but the fixes to the gate, one quote is $1573.70, the other one is $1366.14.
Hey, John, can you speak up just a little bit? I have my hearing aid, but others don't.
There's two fixes that need to be done. One is $1366, the other one is $1573.
It wasn't me.
And and then Glenn, you said we needed a gate arm, which adds to this, which is probably, what'd you say, 800? forget that. On it, so gates aren't working properly after this damage. You know, this quote should be billed in the censure to the homeowner. That was captured and involved in it, so, I make a motion to.
About $3,800 I show, Glenn, is that
Yeah,
about
I mean,
right?
there was an RFID reader that he kicked in, he kicked the camera, stole the camera, and then wrestled the gate arm down. Man, it was a good wrestle, but it broke it.
All right, go
So,
ahead.
almost, yeah, 3,800 sounds right.
I took the two quotes plus the 800 for the arm, comes up to be $37,39.84.
So I'll make the motion to approve the expense to repair the gate damage.
Any discussion? All in favor signify with an eye. All opposed? Motion passes. Proceed with repairs. Alright. Anything else, John? All right, unfinished business. Smith Management Group update. We have declined their offer due to some late addendum B charges that were not presented in the original quote, which would probably have tripled the initial quote. So we have sent them an email, a letter of, we will not be using them as any kind of management services for Raintree. CPM update and contract.
Don't we have to rescind the motion that we made then?
Didn't we do that on the closed board meeting as well? Okay, I make the motion to rescind the Smith Management contract approval. Who seconded it?
I'll second to rescind it.
Any discussion? All in favor of rescinding Smith Management contract approval, signify with an eye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, CPM update and contract motion. So CPM was the original company we were going with, and we were presented with some information from Smith late in the process, so we gave them the opportunity. When they came forward, they were at a much reduced rate, and we looked at their quote and ended up finding out it was not viable. So we reverted back to CPM. In a closed board meeting, we voted to entertain CPM's contract. They have presented that to us. We had a closed board meeting earlier tonight for about an hour. We had a CPM CFO online and asked questions, gave answers. Everybody on this call was on that call. And unless anybody's got any other questions, I will make a motion to move forward with CPM as the professional services for Raintree. Is there a second?
Are we allowed to ask questions? What services would they cover?
No, this is,
Okay.
you can ask questions later on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there been a second?
I'll second.
Ken, second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we table this till after the election.
Don't bore us.
I have multiple reasons if you want me to go into them. That's my motion. I need a second.
We're not saying it's a bad idea, we're just saying it needs to be held off.
Any discussion?
I just fear that if you wait till the election, then you're gonna have a bunch of new board members and they're not, we're gonna start the process over again, and we need to get caught up, guys, we're way behind.
Right, but with
Things-
new board members, they can get the information and make the conscious decision. Half of us aren't even gonna be on the board or may not even get reelected. That should be their conscious decision to make. But like I said, we're not saying
Yeah, but we're setting
no.
them up for
Don't you think that
failure
the current
without
board
this.
members are
They can
capable?
start it as soon as they join.
Are the
They've already-
board members not capable of making a good decision?
Well, let's say this. I think this board has already done the due diligence, already got the work done, already ready to hand it to the next board. The work's there. They can look at this contract. They can research this stuff. They can find out if it's good for what they want to do.
It will take months.
Well, it probably should have took a little longer than
To do that,
what it
because
took
we're
us so far.
We're floundering now. We
Well,
can't get bills paid, we can't set your,
well, I would call the motion. It's on the floor. Motion to table.
All in favor of tabling the motion to hire CPM, signify with an aye.
You just said the motion to table it?
That's what I said.
Okay, sure. Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
aye.
Motion fails. Back to the motion to approve CPM. Any discussion?
You know, I'd just like to add for everybody that, you know, they offer professional accounting services to us for our challenges with collections. They are able to offer something that I haven't seen this community try, is that for the people that choose not to pay, they can actually report them to credit reporting services. So that's, you know, we've tried the collection agency, we've tried the collection attorney, we've tried, you know, all kinds of different avenues with, you know, liens. You know, some have better success than others, but at the end of the day, you know, we still have folks that are not, you know,
Speak up
feel
just a
they gotta
little
pay.
Speak up, thank you.
So that's, I think, an added plus to them on that aspect, so.
One thing I would like to mention, that some of the things I was detailed about tonight is they do have professional services in accounting and management. The CFO has 2 degrees in both finance and management. The big thing is they will come out free of charge or a part of our contract and train all new board members, current and future, ongoing if they need be. There is a portal. Many things that we do manually today can be done online. They will do a mass import. If we ever decide to terminate, they will do a mass export. The company has been in business, I forget what they said, 1985. 1985. They have several large communities around, some which they do all the maintenance for, the exterior, interior, roof, whatnot. We are not entertaining that part of the motion or the contract. We are just doing it for admin services, which will remove Rever, remove City and Village, remove QuickBooks, remove payroll taxes, insurance, sick pay, PTO, things like that. Workers' comp. I thought,
Unlike Smith, they're a local company, not a huge national company.
right,
And unlike Smith, they don't take care of rental property, they only do homeowners. People own homes, townhouses, et cetera. They only deal with people who own their property, not transient or rental properties.
any office staff is welcome to interview with the new company. This is really just a transfer of services from a board, including this board, trying to manage a staff of 3 that manages over 2,000 properties. Yes, Dave?
So if one of our current employees agrees to, or try to be interviewed by CPM, and CPM doesn't hire him, then what?
Then she's out of a job.
So we terminate her, or terminate whoever it is?
Yes. The goal is, and their goal is, to hire people that have experience here already. They don't want to come in fresh and have to interview and train somebody on how our processes are done. So, and they are very open-minded about interviewing anybody that wants to interview with them, internal or external.
And if they are terminated, then they'll get unemployment, I would assume.
That's not up for me to decide.
The cost difference isn't, it's gonna eventually almost amount to the same of what we're paying anyway,
Correct.
It's 40,000 less.
the first year.
Right, but down the road, our expenses for this office go up. CPA goes up every year, QuickBooks goes up every year, everything goes up every year, just like their contracted rate does.
And volunteers don't have to manage employees, guys. It's just
Okay,
no
so-
labor on it. It's better.
But we are gonna lock the next board into 3 years, whatever this is that we're agreeing to tonight.
Yes, this contract is for 3 years. After the 3 years, you can terminate them at 1-year intervals.
And there is a clause in the contract for non-performance. As how to exit the contract.
For both parties.
For both parties for non-performance. So they can terminate us if we don't pay them, if we don't, do what we're supposed to do, to lock the employee out of the office. They can terminate the contract same as
So-
we can for non-performance.
So the next board coming in is gonna be locked into 3 years, and then they're gonna have to figure out, well, we're gonna get all this rever into CPM.
That's an
So there's a whole
import-export.
nother, well, whatever, it's a whole nother process that's gotta be taken on for the next board, if we do it this way. And then same with City and Village, are we keeping them, we're getting rid of them, so whatever's in City and
It gets
Village has
replaced.
to be,
Get replaced.
and,
I mean, this is totally setting up the next board for success.
I mean, I look at it like this, when you talk about the boards. Last year, I think there were 5 positions up. This year, there's 6. I think one other year, there was 4. It's designed in the bylaws to be 3. But the board members get involved and they don't fulfill their terms. So they up and leave without fulfilling the terms, and then we get into this same point. So I've seen for the 3 boards, multiple turnovers, that some of the things that we continue to contend with, they get, excuse my analogy, but the can keeps getting kicked down the road. And every time the can gets kicked down the road, it's a long haul start over again. So I'm sorry, Dave, I don't agree that this is just to hand all this over to the next board.
well, I'm on this board, and I have to take some responsibility for that, because we're a board. But, I want to look at these other subdivisions that they apparently manage. I haven't had a chance to do that. You just said it today, Winter Valley, Brentwood Forest. I mean, I could Google them right now, but I'd like to call and talk to someone like I did at Lake Sherwood, and got, understood some different things that they do. The amount goes up, there's other fees in there, they're gonna do our taxes for $350 to $500, but none of them's a CPA. I mean, I don't know, there's not enough information here for me.
Well, Winter Estates just switched from Smith to CPM.
That's great, but I'd still like to see how they, and, I don't wanna,
Is it Winter Estates for townhouses?
so,
Yes.
townhouses.
Ownership.
What about Brentwood Forest? Is that a subdivision like this one?
Winter Estates is about a 300 or 400 unit subdivision.
Houses or
Brentwood
condos?
Houses.
Winter Valley is count, the houses.
Yes, the Brentwood is 1,400 condos, I think she said.
That's what she said, yeah.
No, it's kind
And
of-
those are the only 2 companies they have, that they have more?
That's all that we asked for at the time of the meeting.
Okay, well, I haven't got to talk to either one of them myself, so. This
Yeah,
is
they've
big,
been in business since 1985. She's been there since 2001.
it's just a lot to chew.
How did the third bid compare?
The one bid that we asked for was unable to bid at the time because they were implementing a large subdivision and never gave us a new quote. We had the quote from the previous year.
So we don't have 3 side-by-side bids either, is that the other thing? I mean, I've been asking about that,
We
3
had-
side-by-side.
Had it 2 years ago.
We used the price they gave us. It's not the first nor the last time that you're not gonna get 3 companies to reply to the bid. It's been approved with 2 or whatever, but we solicited the bids, we got 2 back. And you also have City and Village, and the place, so.
Don't you think something like this, though, would be better if there was more discussion amongst the community with it, got some input like we did with the all-in?
Well,
I mean, I'll
2
say
years
this,
ago, we started this, Dave, and because of the discussion on social media is why people left the board and this kept getting, like John says,
The
kicked down the
discussion of
road.
this just came up in
You
June.
want my answer or not?
For 2 years. Well, you just made a mistake.
Dave, I will say that just the fact that we can replace 3 disparate systems, city and village, Rever, and QuickBooks, with one integrated system, it's worth its weight in gold, guys.
I couldn't
It
agree
is.
more.
I'm in the software world. The 3 separate systems do not work.
To enter, take it to each one. Or you only enter it once.
Yeah, and if something doesn't transfer right, then you fix it all the time.
every month in accounting, we have to marry up 2 different accounting systems.
It'll be heaven. Just tell them, the next board, they can work on things that are meaningful versus fighting about this.
You know, and to me, if the board stabilizes and people stay in their positions because the job becomes easier for them to do, it's not all time consuming. You know, it's, and outside with what Tilly said, I'm like, this is dang near a full-time job on top of, you know, whatever job you already have. And, you know, we got people that are forced taking a day off so he can guard the ballot box the day before his daughter's wedding. I'm like, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that people don't see. And I'll agree, that office and those people, when you come to the window as an owner, they're terrific. They take care of everything that you see in front of you. They're polite, they're nice. But that's this much of a whole hand that goes on behind that door in that office. And, you know, that's where we're struggling. And the struggle just continues to roll down the avenue.
Well, that's the other thing. You keep making all these accusations about how bad the office has been. But we've never once had, as I suggested earlier, a closed admin, a legitimate closed board meeting of
Dave,
admin.
I showed you this.
You've shown it to everybody here.
That's
When did we ever get
that's
the
the documentation.
employees? Well, see, I was a union man, and I'm gonna tell you right now, the employee always gets some representation. And the employee here has no say-so whatsoever. You only get to let them answer some questions. You make all these lambasted accusations, and you do it in a public forum. That meeting in June was disgusting.
The meetings were with the
And a lot of property
employees.
owners should be ashamed of
All
themselves
3
for that.
employees were at the meetings, in private.
But that's not with the whole board, and it was not a legitimate.
It's never been with the whole board. They've hired and fired staff with me not even knowing about it.
And Dave,
Okay.
and Dave, this is why we must not,
I agree.
we can't do this. We can't have volunteer admins of the office. There'll be turnover in 30 years. There's going to be new office staff, new board members. Someone's going to get in a fight, and that is just absolute crap. We need to run this place professionally.
Any other discussion? I will call for a vote. All in favor of hiring CPM's contract displayed in front of us, signify with an aye. 3 ayes, all opposed? 3 to 1. Motion passes. 1, 2, 3. Oh,
I thought Glenn said, oh.
yeah, 4 to 1, I'm sorry. Desiree?
I was saying,
Motion
Could all
passes.
the people, excuse me, could all the people who voted against it raise their hand?
I abstained. I'm not voting
What
for
about
or
Denny?
nay.
No, you
Why-
didn't
why?
respond. Denny, are you there?
He's unmuted. Denny, can you unmute lower left, far left? Bottom left corner. Very good.
I didn't hear your vote, Benny.
I'm sorry, I said I vote no, Dave, I'm sorry.
4-2. All right, so the motion passes to sign a contract with CPM. Maintenance services update and contract motion. So as we know, Tom has turned in his retirement notice, and what can I do before? And I have solicited bids from 3 management companies, or maintenance companies. And in lieu of doing that, which has taken some time, we even extended 2 different companies to get us a quote. And even after the deadline was done, after the second time, we did take on another quote and another company that requested. What our suggestion is, 1L was one of them, Precision was another, Baker was a third, and then an individual that submitted wanting to do the the grass cutting. I'm gonna first off, since this has all been, since Tom announced his retirement, which I'm glad for you, Tom, I hope you enjoy it. We have also lost a full-time employee, and one of our other full-time employees is going part-time. Tom did inform me that he addressed both of his employees if they would be interested in his position, and I do believe, Tom, you told me no, that they were not interested. I have spoke to Matt, which I informed him I was meeting with Tom and John Kozel, and that John Kozel, which is with 1L, which I suggest we accept this bid, is very interested in hiring Matt to be the on-site personnel, whether it be part-time or full-time, that would be up to Matt. And both John Kozel and his partner were excited that Matt would be interested in the position. This quote is for 3-year contract, or 2 years additionally after the first, let's see, 3-year contract with an optional 2 years after the first 3 years. So this would be cutting the grass about 26 weeks out of the summer, give or take a week here if it's dry and it isn't growing, or if it's raining a lot and I gotta cut it longer. This is also for snow plowing. The grass cutting would be $3,000 a week to do the highlighted areas that Tom gave us, not including the driving range of the 13 acres. Dams cut once a month for $3,800 and to be determined on the frequency. Snow plowing and salting 0 to 4 inches at $5,200, 4.1 to 6 inches $7,200, and 6.1 to 8 inches at $10,800. Pre-treat or salt after plowing $9,000. There was discussion about using the shop and salt storage, and Tom mentioned about some credits that we have with some salt. The equipment and trucks, they all have their own equipment and trucks, so we would need to determine what you want to do with that. Currently, in any of the recent budgets, there has not been any money for replacement of any vehicles. We did do a special assessment a few years ago that purchased some maintenance equipment, but outside of the normal operating expenses, if something detrimental to the maintenance would fall away, we would not, or just non-repairable, we would not have a budget for that. Of the items that we sat down with Tom and discussed, the one-off things that happen as time permits, actually the irrigation system will be maintained by John Kozel's partner. Signs, maintain ditches, cutting back vegetation, off-road edges, cleaning out culverts and ditches after heavy rains, fall leaf removal, roads, fill potholes, paint crosswalks, speed bumps, stop sign lines, gate repairs. That probably, we talked, and if Matt takes on the position, would fall back on Matt to do the gate repairs during normal business hours. Help lakes and beaches by making up buoys, swim rope anchors, and assisting in the installation. Some of that will fall on lakes and beaches, but they do have a boat that they can put out there to help with the swim rope and buoys. respond to calls from the office to be the first contact with residents communicating issues, review video. That would probably not fall on them. That would go to more of the security company or security committee. Daily trash removal at the beach, dealing with excessive trash from food trucks. We did discuss that the food trucks need to monitor their own trash output, and Matt would be a good fit for doing some of that in-between work. There is a serious hydraulic issue with one of the mowers that needs possibly repairing or fixing or replacing. There's also 25 tons of salt left over from last year that we still have that we would work with Cozell to give us a credit on the first time. All of those optional things, other than the one thing they will not do, is maintain the POA office building, bathhouse, pavilion, or visitor center. When we say maintain, we mean painting it or replacing toilets or things like that. That may be something that if Matt is qualified that he could do that according to Tom, you felt comfortable with him doing tasks like that. The time and material for all of those things would be the material cost plus $65 an hour. And that is, it's basically not a hard number because you never know how much grass you're going to cut or snow you're going to get. But at $3,000 for 26 weeks and the dam once a month, it would probably be 3 cuts.
It includes the landscaping. and
Right,
all
the
this
front
stuff,
office
up here
landscaping,
and down
Common Drive. So I will make a motion to accept 1L's contract. Is there a second? Any discussion? I will say one thing that was brought to our attention that I thought was a plus is Cozell is already doing over 200 properties in here of residents. So I think he's got a pretty good relationship with just about everybody in here. I've never used him from time to time. Seems to be on top of the job, on a timely manner, and does good work. I don't know.
And the other thing with CPM does have on-spot maintenance that we could call in if needed for things that Matt and 1L can't handle.
If a tree falls over the road or something urgent, like?
Now, tree would be goes out.
Yeah, they didn't feel like that would be a problem.
Okay.
I mean, if we need a plumber for something in this building, we can, they can arrange for that.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify with an aye for the hiring of 1L for the maintenance contract.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. What you were for, right? 1 abstain. Motion passes. All right, committee responsibilities under new business.
I asked for that because
Okay.
I would just like to see us, especially when we have a new board in a month or so, we have new board members, can we come, unless there's a document somewhere that I haven't been able to find, is there something that defines what each committee is responsible for? And I would also, in addition to that, the board of activities, the board of directors communication, because I don't think that we're collaborating well enough in doing the community the service we need to. I see, and maybe I wear you guys out with emails, but every time I talk to the Clean Flow, or every time I talk to Republic, and I did the trash contractor, every time I talk to anybody, I always send everybody an email, and then sometimes I know owners get messages that I'm like, wow, I'm not sure that that's 100% correct, and I just wonder if we can't come up with a way to collaborate a little better and maybe have some definitions of who's responsible, because like I see an incident report and I'm like, is that up for grabs, or should that be assigned to a certain committee? I really don't know. I'm willing to help out, but I don't want to step on somebody else's toes. And I certainly don't think we should get to the point that somebody feels like they step on someone else's toes by doing something where all should move the community forward, which is what I was trying to do. And so I just would like to figure out a way we could have a better communication system.
Yeah, we had that before. We had meetings when ACC and rules and Lakes and Beaches and other committees. We had almost every time, we had at least 5 board members at just about every committee meeting.
All right, how do we get back there then? What do we have to do different? What did you do? What?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm asking for. What's the solution? How do we get, how do we, I mean,
Back then, they didn't like it. They didn't, we was told, in fact, they even changed the
Okay, well, I don't know who they was, and I'm not talking about back
Well,
then.
I'm just saying that there's people that didn't like it. They changed the bylaws so that it made it harder for the committees to work together. I mean, in unison. ACC can work with rules and security. I mean, it all bleeds into each other. You don't know.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking for.
And that's what we did.
How does it make it harder? I don't understand.
Well, you'll have, it was put on us where we were accused of things because we would get together at a committee meeting. We'd have 5 to 6 board members at committee meetings every time. So.
Committee members, I mean, aren't all committee
Well, they're all
meetings
various committees.
public?
Absolutely public, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we collaborated all the way through.
Okay, that's what I want to know, is how do we get back there? I don't care about what happened before and who's to blame and all that, that gets us nowhere. I want to know what we need to do to move forward, because I feel like I'm spinning my wheels in my ride. I'm trying to help the community.
It needs to get back to that.
I see something come up, and I'm like, I don't think that that's correct, you guys, but I don't want to call somebody out electronically.
And to
I'm
your
just not that
question,
kind of person.
I don't know if it even still exists. There used to be what Joanne called the Z drive, and she could go in there and it had, and I've added to it because I remember when Woolridge was president, when I was on the board, we all put a list of how the ACC works. In fact, I can't tell you how many mornings I sat with Kurt Locke. We went with what we already had and we kind of followed the procedures. We put it in, and it's in the Z drive, so whoever has
All right,
access
let's
to
get back,
that.
let's find a way to get back there.
Rules, procedures too.
Instead of dividing the community, let's find a way to get back there, because
There's no Z drive anymore?
I don't know, the office couldn't find it when I was looking for,
I think
ACC stuff.
CPM will eliminate the Z.
well, and the public, yeah, the CPM may maybe help us a little bit. I still think there's going to be times when something comes up and someone needs to talk to a property owner or a potential property owner. We just need to make sure that it gets assigned or that someone chooses to take it and we all know about it. Because nothing's worse than giving people two information that's conflicting. Then they don't trust the board.
CPM should help with that.
I hope, I'm just asking.
It will.
Okay, then I will, I didn't have a motion, I was just bringing it up for discussion so that when we have new board members starting next month, let's have some kind of onboarding and talk to them and say, hey guys, here's how we work together, here's how we're gonna communicate with one another. Because I feel like I'm wearing you guys out with emails, but I'm not hearing back.
Well, like I said, those things were in there somewhere, and in fact, they were voted on by the board, so
Okay.
they are legitimate.
That's fine, I'm not talking about what used to be, I'm saying, what do we need to do to move forward?
I mean, those are the procedures and everything that's listed there.
Sorry, Ken? A lot of what you're asking for is already out there on the website, and a lot of the operating procedures for the different committees is also out on the website in
Okay.
PDFs.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just,
Okay,
you-
and what I'm
we're
saying is
it
if
was
somebody,
paused,
if somebody sends the board an email or sends an email to the office or something and says, I have a question about this, how do we determine who's gonna answer that or who did answer it? I hope the right person.
In the previous, the office staff would forward those to the secretary, and the secretary would route those to whoever it needed to go to the committee
Well, and that's how I
chair.
ended up doing the trash contract and some other things, which is fine. Okay, I'll stop. I just think there needs to be some more discussion about it rather than just leaving it up to happening.
No, I agree. And Ken, as a one-year board member, I wish there was onboarding.
Yeah, I do too.
Like here's how we do it.
Yeah, it's frustrating about the onboarding. My first time being appointed, not even elected, I was handed a key and a code and an alarm code to get in the office without even knowing my background. So it is kind of frustrating that we don't have better onboarding, but I will tell you, onboarding in the US is one of the biggest failures of any company.
Is that why you don't have a key anymore?
Yeah, I haven't had a key for over a year.
Okay.
The Z drive should still exist. It was on the server. As far as I know, the server's still there. Is John Irvin here by chance?
It is.
Do we have a Z drive still?
It is.
Okay.
Everybody has access to it, but the office has access to it. Yes.
I'd like to look at it, but I don't think it has everything that I'm asking for. But let's move forward and accomplish
You
something.
get to see
some of
that
that
after. All right, thanks, Kent. I encourage everybody to work together. I would say it's, when I got on the board 6 or 7 years ago, it's definitely more demanding now, and I think anything that can help with managing of the subdivision is going to be beneficial. Communication of board of director activities.
That's the same. That was
All same thing, okay. Treasurer's report, presentation of bills.
All right, this would be a slight stray from that, but these two new contracts will be posted once fully executed on the website. It is under the Finance Committee and News. We put out there an item called records requests, so the various contracts we have had records requests on are out there on the website for access. In the lobby, these will be posted online in the next couple days. I just put the full financial packet together. May actually was not final before. May is now final. I'm pretty sure it was missing, that was a city and village software transition month, so it is now fully updated. Those copies are there. I was out of the country last month, so we got the June packet is out there. The June packet has, these packets have the profit and loss statement, the balance sheet. It has the bills that were paid for the month on them. And then the July one is what we'll talk about. This one, I added the report people have been asking for, and I will get this online as well. It has the performance against the budget report in this packet. So since I'm not allocated a whole bunch of time, here's the high-level summary. Primary checking account has $192,000. The investment checking account has $299,000. Security special assessment account has $19,040. Although I believe that we have some security expense, we're going to reclassify against that. Lake dredging account has $17,769. We have reserves of $105,709. And the ICF fund has $291,000. Before everybody gets all carried away, it's assessment pay season, so we have the high mark of the money. That money's got to last us through June of next year. So I know we have about an $80,000 bill coming up for road repairs against some of this stuff, and there might be some security or lake stuff coming up against this money as well. So it's not excess funds. City and village, they collected in July $480,680 in assessment-related revenues. They paid $12,186 of bills. The escrow balance is $474,641, so I will make a transfer out of that account into our account. And the city fees for the month of July collection were $4,572. On delinquent owner report, as of today, there are 718 people that have not paid in total. It's $521,000. To give you some numbers against this, there were 238 delinquent owners before this assessment went out. And Last year in November, there were 400 delinquent owners, so we're not necessarily off track as far as the collections go from that, but those numbers weren't reported prior to November last year, so I don't have a great comparison to go against. Delinquent letters will be going out to owners. Any new owners that we don't have a lien on, we'll process the lien probably after the election is over. If you're interested in a breakdown of some of this, there's $131,469 of uncollected assessment for 2023. There's $302,131 uncollected so far in 2024.
Motion.
Hang on a second, I gotta go through the bills for July.
Do you have any breakdown on on whether that be unpaid assessments or homeowners or lot owners? Do you break it out like that at all in the accounting?
Not on the 718, but I know of the 238, 92% of them are lot owners. On the actual bills for the month of July, Aqua Services, check 3183 is the lake treatment. I'm just looking for things out of the ordinary. Will bill was a refund of the construction bond, check 3204, that the road cut wasn't needed. First stop is the porta potties. I gotta double check one of these things. That $4,600, I think we had no damage porta potty.
They were turned over, but I don't think, I thought, Tom, didn't you guys clean that out and push them back up?
I gotta double check in the 3212.
Just one day, noise or something to you.
The two of them at the,
That's,
two of
yeah.
them at the beach. were-
Pushed over and a mess on the
The
inside, right?
first stop came out and cleaned.
Was it? I thought you guys cleaned it.
There was one incident where they were semi-pushed. The resident with all the other damages was involved in that also. And the other incident with the porta potties got cleaned up by First Stop.
Okay.
I think, what is it, $20 per unit, so 20 times 3.
You might want to check
Damage
that
on that. Probably
Yep.
never find that. What's more,
Right,
sit
I'll
for
double
hours
check
and hours.
I'll double check on 3212. On the city, the checks paid through city, 2,980 was the loops to keep the gates from coming down. On it, 1302, I think, was to Dan Ozelinski. He hadn't been paid since May. And 1610 is the lake water testing that's been done for, if we choose to go with Clean Flow. 2,000 is a construction bond refund, so I entertain, I make a motion to approve the finance report, presentation of bills.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of the approval of the finance report and presentation of bills, signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Forrest, if you're not up to it, man, you can cut out.
I'll make it to the
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay.
It's gonna be like an exodus. I can't, I'm afraid.
Can't move it.
Okay, I don't.
Well, you have the worst color, gives people are vomiting, it's red, because when they puke, you're like, well, did you throw up any blood? You're like,
Communications
I'm drinking red Gatorade.
Like put your car up to the door and turn it on so it's ready to jump in.
I'll make it. Thank you very much.
Communications.
Okay. communications
No
reports as well.
communications, okay. All I have here is maintenance and lakes and beaches, right?
Yeah, that's all that was submitted.
I will say Tom's been busy, he's down to one part-time guy now, and if you see him out there hustling, offer him a Gatorade.
But not the one Forrest touched. I would not touch that.
All
He
right,
prefers wine, just give it to him after shifts.
Lakes and beaches, we had to move the meeting because Dave Stapleton was here, Shackleton was here, and he gave us a short presentation on more of an in-depth look into eutrophication and the process and how his aeration, oxygenation reversed that process in the lake. I just got the video from it late last week, but I was out of town, so we'll get it out to you guys. It's pretty good. It's 30 minutes, and it's a more detailed presentation, but it doesn't really talk much about what it changes. We have one more set of algae cultures, and then we'll know more. Those will be done in early September. A bunch of us went and looked at the spillway between Summer and Winter Lake, several committee members, because there was concern that water was starting to run underneath of it. It's already been replaced once, and we don't need that to happen again. We found that there is water either running between the slabs of concrete and then getting underneath the spillway, or else it's running around because the curbs don't come all the way up. When we have a good rain, it overwhelms that spillway, moves all of the riprap, and moves there's a footing at the bottom of the spillway, and there's large rocks that hold it in place. It's moved all those, and so we have two different processes going on. We did get a quote to put curbs all the way down the sides of the spillway to divert the water into the middle spillway, keeping it off the sides because we don't want it, again, to erode underneath of that. We don't want hydraulics forming, eroding underneath the spillway and at the bottom of the spillway. But, you know, per the covenants, we have to get a couple more quotes. Those are going to be difficult to compare apples to oranges unless we say, here, we have this quote, what would you suggest? So I don't know where that's going to go, but I do think we should go ahead and caulk the seams so that if any water runs over it, and that's a minimal charge. Thirdly, a representative from the Soil and Water Conservation District came out and met with several committee members, and we talked about having a regional drainage zone. When Mike Cook was here from the Stormwater Division, he told us we needed a regional drainage study to see how much organic and inorganic material was flowing into our lakes after rains. The conservation, we're trying to maybe get some of that information from the Soil and Water Conservation District. But the one thing the guy said over and over again is, and this is no different than what Mike Cook said, is every construction site in Raintree, and I don't care how far it is from the lake, needs to have silt fences. And he said if the contractors will not comply with our request or our demand, our requirement for silt fences, then they'll be happy to help step in and help us work with those contractors. But we have to stop. I mean, it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of money on clean flow and do something about the lakes if we have more organic and inorganic material running into the lakes. And so I think that has to be a priority. And then I will tell you that I received, I'm going to call them inquiries, several inquiries regarding when the Autumn Lake is no wake and when it's not no wake. Everyone has a different opinion. It's in the covenants. It's 1H in the covenants. And so having heard a bunch of different opinions and having heard what it's been doing, how it's been done for the last decade or more, I didn't make any changes, but I thought I'd investigate it. I talked to the Army Corps of Engineers, and they said, you know, the lakes have two pools. They have a conservation pool, which is the normal operating pool, and then they have what they call full pool. Full pool means if the water gets to the top of that spillway and starts running over, that dam is potentially damaged by boating, waves, etc. And a conservation pool is usually, like if you go to, like we had farm ponds and they had a tube in them and water got to that tube, it would run out, and then we'd have a secondary spillway around the outside of it, and that was just for overflow. I think we had a tube at one time or a gate valve, but it's been 100 years or more since it was moved, it opened, and I don't think we should. But he told me, hey, it's up to you guys, and it says that in the covenant. So and their concern, the Corps of Engineers' concern is downstream from our dam. If something happens to our dam, we're responsible for whatever happens to it downstream if we were held liable. So I talked to the DNR. They said, talk to the DNR because they're the ones who inspect your dams. He told me they have what they call an operational pool, which means no water is running over the spillway at all. And he said several times, you know, wakes come at a cost, and you guys have a lot of wakes, and you're going to have to deal with it. So the larger the wake, the greater the erosion, the greater potential damage to the lake, and more importantly, the dam. I also think that when this lake was designed, I don't think that they had anticipated boats with this much displacement, the size of the boats, the weight of the boats, and the horsepower on the engines. And so there's potential damage to people's seawalls. We just had to have our seawall repaired, $5,200 of foam pumped in because it's eroding from underneath. And so what I would like is an endorsement, if you will, from the board. I'm not going to make a covenant change, but an endorsement from the board that we say that we read the covenants just as they are, that if any water runs over the spillway at any time, not due to boating action, okay, just due to the volume, that it becomes no wake. That completely removes any subjectivity to it. Well, you know, people tell me, well, we usually cut it off here, we cut it off here. People tell me, well, when it gets to the point on my stairs is when we usually cut it off and it's not there. I personally feel like we should have an objective measurement. And Tom tells me at one time there was a post out there that had a measurement on it and said, this is when it's no wake, but oddly enough, it disappeared. I would like the board's endorsement of saying that Autumn Lake is no wake if there's any water running over any part of the spillway, as long as it's not caused by the action of boating. So if somebody boats around there and they get a wake, big deal. But when it gets to the point there's any water running over it, I think for the long-term preservation of our dam and people's personal property, that's where it should be. So I can make a motion or...
Well, if it's already in the covenants, I think it's
I'm
common sense.
I'm saying how we interpret it. I just want this board's endorsement that we're going to interpret it as any water running, any is not...
Is that what the...
It's under 1A2. Desiree, can you read what it says? It's right in the middle of the personal watercraft thing.
Bottom lake is at full pool, meaning that water is passing over the spillway, not created by boating activities, and all boating on Autumn Lake shall be restricted to no wake until the pool level recedes.
So it can be interpreted as a little bit of water, it can be running across the entire length of the spillway. The spillway is concave to some extent. And so I think we should just, to remove all objectivity, just make, all subjectivity, make it objective and say, if water runs over the spillway, no, Autumn Lake is no wake, and the board approves that, because I know there's a few people that are going to be in my ear as soon as they hear about it.
I only know one person that.
In the wind covenants, where you got-
I would say if it's in the covenants,
That's
the board says,
I hear from a lot of people.
That's always been.
So you guys endorse me saying that any water,
I endorse
Yeah,
you.
that's.
other than the actual...
I'll second that.
I endorse you for 30 days.
That is how it
I
reads.
mean, it
But
doesn't use
it
the
doesn't
word.
say any, but everybody interprets it differently.
Right, but this.
But I think for the long-term preservation of our lake, the dam, the riprap, reducing damage and cost, I think that's the way it should be.
I think you got everybody's unanimous agreement.
And then, I don't know, I'll get you the information to ACC about, this guy said, look, if your contractors won't comply,
It's in the guidelines in our ACC, so if they're not complying, we can make them comply, or we'll
or he said he'll help you have them comply.
get them to help them comply, that's right.
And I think
I remember you said that in the first meeting too.
that was a different guy. That was the stormwater guy. This
But
is-
it's already
But they're
required, so
both
they
part of the
should do
same.
it.
Right.
Most of them that I know are doing it.
We just have to get silk fences in place. We have. I don't want to spend $1 million more on on clean flow and just having dirt.
All construction's supposed to have that.
I will say, somebody that didn't know beans about lakes and beaches, can you nail it, dude?
I don't know, I feel like.
I hope you didn't write prescriptions like that.
I hope not.
One thing I want to add to the maintenance real quick is Tom and myself and John Cozell met, and John Cozell's partner in the landscaping and snow plowing, and I thought it was a productive meeting. Tom got most of the questions answered, I think we did too, and where the responsibility is going to lie, so, you know, my hat's off to Tom and all the hard work he's done for 14 years, right, Tom? 14 years.
And God bless Elaine.
Thanks.
Tom, if you could get Matt's number to me, and I will share that with John, and then hopefully John and you and Matt can hook up together and go over anything that needs to be clarified there. I also,
And Elaine, if you ever need to get them out the house, we got lots of them.
Not you, you're gonna keep them for a while.
I would also like to thank Linda Camden and everybody involved with her notorious information gathering and exploring and presenting to the property owners for anything she has done, not just the all-in, but any board meetings and helping video and record and whatnot. So thank you, Linda, very much. I will also like to thank Haley, who is a godsend to us right now, and any of the temporary help that came in to help her, including that lady back there that spoke for 15 minutes that owes us some money back. Appreciate everything you guys have done. I know Haley appreciates it. Every time I call her, she's, you know, just doing the best she can with what she's been trained on, so, you know, I appreciate that, and anything we can do to fix processes or update processes, I believe she's all for it. So, does anybody else got any committee reports? I know Forrest is wanting to get the hell out of here. I believe that's it. I will make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thanks, Forrest. Hope you feel better. Congratulations on your daughter.
Bye, Forrest. Bye.
All right, open forum. Nobody?
We were talking about the contract with Gazelle. I thought I heard the words pothole.
Can we tell everybody's names?
Dave
Can they say
Woolridge.
who their name is?
Jeff Tremble.
Oh, did you know? I'm not talking about that. I gotta look at my name. You don't have
No, so he's gonna do potholes?
Well, that was one of the things that we talked about, and if Matt is willing to entertain a position with them, that would be probably some of the things that either John, and what was the other guy's name, John? I can't remember his partner. Anyway, they are going to work with Matt on piecing out certain pieces of what, you know, is the day-to-day stuff outside of lawn care and plowing and what? Kevin? So they are going to work with Matt to do those things like that they can't, you know, in a moment's notice be here, so Matt will be the guy that'll be on site. He probably will still maintain 3 days a week unless he changes his mind, but he will be an employee of the maintenance company.
I think we all have one or two potholes in our hot buttons for us.
Anybody else?
I had a couple
Hang on one second. I'll get you next.
My name is Lisa Brocksmith. Talk loud, please. My name is Lisa Brocksmith, and this has got a few questions in it, but I think it all will tie together. Thanks for the newsletter, first of all. And I am kind of new to the community, but not that new, but I don't know some of the names on here. But of the 14 candidates running, have any of those candidates brought a lawsuit against Rain Tree Plantation owners? If so, could we have their names? And how much of our money, the owner's money, was spent to pay the attorneys to represent the owners? And if the suits were won or lost, and if those candidates were voted in, would they be willing to pay some of that money back since they're representing us? I know it's a lot, but I would, as a property owner, and we're investing in this community, I think it's very important that we know who's supporting us and who's our voice, and the correct voice to protect us.
Lisa, if you want to get an email to me with your questions, I think that needs to be forwarded to legal and make sure that we're not violating any laws before we answer any of that. Or maybe he will answer it for us.
There is
I'll
a
just
meeting.
send it to you, Lisa.
I'm sorry?
I ended up with your email, I'll send it. So you send it to secretary, but right now I'm as close as you got to one. So I'll send it to
There is a meet the candidates, which is the Sunday maybe after, like a week after Memorial Day. And I would encourage,
Labor Day.
Labor Day, I thought it was great last year. I would encourage you to go to that and consider candidates who show and don't show strongly to that. I would. And they can make a video, they're welcome to make a video. I think those videos were very revealing because 75 words on a piece of paper or that mailer is not enough for you to know much about those people. That's why, as a result of people requesting more information, I think that's why you guys came up with the video and the meet the candidates, which.
And the one page on the website too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's, if you watch Election Central, as candidates give us either their video or their one page, we also gave them suggested, questions that, I'm not sure where they came from the community, but that might be what they want to share. We'll be adding that stuff out to the website on Election Central.
So is these questions that you guys can say, hey, the community's asking these questions, can they answer it?
They can do it in a video, they can do it by answering the document question, they can add up to one page that we can put out there on the website.
This morning I went to Missouri CaseNet just to see if I could figure that out. Dang, there's a lot of...
You're looking at me.
There's just there's a lot of pages you have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be so much easier if we could be transparent with who's running and if they're really going to be benefiting us, or are they going to be suing our community?
Let me get you an answer on that. Kathy, let me get you next. This gentleman has been waiting for a minute.
Yeah, my name is Eric Downs. I'm running for board and never sued the community, everyone. Anyway, my question was about CPM, so just was wondering, what all services they covered, what's their scope of work, and it sounds like we're replacing a few companies that we're working with currently. Do we have buyouts for current contracts that we're exiting? And I would just like a little bit more detail around what the company is going to offer and what, if any, payments will need to be made to these other companies that we're currently working with.
Once we sign this contract, we can give you a copy of it. It's that, and then
That's the longer list of services. So
Yeah, I looked at their website while we were meeting, and I kind of got a little bit. So please do. But if you had to say, just kind of list out some of the bullet points about the things that you think are really going to be beneficial. And then also, I feel like you should probably know if there's payments that we need to make out to these other companies, then, you know, I don't need the details and everything now, I can read the contract, but if you have broad strokes, I'd love to hear it.
All right, as far as CPM, you know, what they bring is financial management. We'll be able to bring our different systems together under one.
And so what are those different systems now? Sorry, so there's three, you mentioned there's a few,
Our
so.
financials are done via both QuickBooks and City and Village today.
Yeah,
So, and the two don't marry up together, so we have to manually do that on that front. And on that aspect, so they'll do it all in one, to pay the bills, you know, so really all the financial stuff that happens behind that door, they will be handling it for us. They do have the ability to help either supplant with what 1L's doing or not doing, or help get us maintenance services on that aspect. They also do general administrative things as far as the owner files. They talked earlier before this meeting started, they have a pretty robust portal that like ACC rules, violations, pay your bill online, you see your account online, those type of things they offer, so it's all under one umbrella. We will still have one person here that works, that work for CPM, not for the POA, but they'll be here 35 hours a week in the summer, 32 in the winter. There will be some early morning hours, some later evening hours, some extended Saturday hours in that. And there will also be a community manager, which is a shared employee of CPM, but they'll spend a third of their time here devoted to Raintree. I personally, I think the financial part is huge for us, as well as hopefully the tools that they bring to the table will help us collect our money owed, you know, the money that's
500,
owed.
some of,
Yeah, I mean, the money that's owed us isn't the magic bullet that's gonna fix everything around here, but it certainly is a big enough number that it'll help take care of, you know, take care of some things, like the 2023 outstanding assessments. If we're able to collect them, it'll almost pay for the employees and the fees for CPM.
I saw that on their website, they attend the board meetings as well, I think, and so,
5 board meetings throughout the year, plus the annual meeting.
The things, there is no buyout licenses on anything, they're already paid for. They will just, as they migrate in, which should take, you know, 1 to 3 months, we stop using them, they just go away. We don't have to.
okay, so like City and Village, we didn't have an extended contract.
The majority of that's already done. That was on, I think, a month, wasn't it?
We just have to give them a 30-day notice, and then
Which unfortunately somebody already did.
The CPA has to, the CPA, well, their prior year tax return is done in the fall, filed in October. So we have 2 more years of the CPA, unless I can convince CPM to do all of 2024. But I'm not sure that they will do that or not, but we'll give it a crack. Then Rever, there's, you know, it's a service you prepaid for, same as QuickBooks, so once that term is up, like Dave said.
Good to know. One last question, and then I'll yield the floor to other questions. What are the terms for cancellation on the 3-year contract?
Canceling it?
60 days prior to the renewal, there will be a review process with both the board and CPM, and probably the office personnel, that if there's any glitches in what's going on either side, they'll either address, work them out, and renew at 1-year terms. Unless you want to go longer, it's, you gotta do,
There's always termination with cause.
oh, another 3 years?
It renews after the 60-day period for, unless it's renegotiated for 3 years. But once it goes
Yeah,
past the initial
term fee
3
of 1
years,
year.
you could stop it at the end of a given year. So even if it renewed from year 4 to 6, you could, after year 4, you could stop it. Prior to the end of the 3 years, it has to be for non-performance. So it has to be, and there's a 30-day, you have to give them a formal notice. You have to have proof that it was received, 30 days to fix it. If they can't fix it in 30 days satisfactory, then you need to give them a 30-day termination notice. And then you can terminate the contract. Other than that, the contract is, if you want to cancel it early without the non-performance proof, then you pay the contract out.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy?
In response to your answers to Lisa's questions regarding the lawsuits, I feel that it's vital for you not only to respond when you get the information, to respond to Lisa, but also to make it available to all voters.
Can I ask a
Because
question?
in order to
Is there a
be-
specific lawsuit you're referring to that people here sued? You're talking about like individuals who may have gotten hurt? Or are you talking about like the issue with the country club or something like that?
Personally, for me, I would just like to know the details on it. If you're going to be the board member that's representing me as an owner, I should know if you've sued our community, why, and if the lawsuit was dropped for whatever reason, or if you lost, then I feel like the money that our community had to pay all those attorneys, all that time, all of that should be.
I just kind of want to point out, because as far as I know, I mean, unless somebody's fallen down and gotten hurt and sued, but when the issue with the country club come around, that the only people that actually sued anybody were actually suing individual board members. Otherwise, it was the POA that was suing the country club.
The board members would have probably still used the attorney of our.
Well, I guess we never really had to use one. As far as I know, it never got that far. They just announced the lawsuit.
But money was spent, is what I'm saying.
I don't know how much money was spent to represent individual board members against that suit. It never really did come to any fruition.
Hang on.
I just wanted to clarify that there is a difference between that lawsuit there, because the POA was suing the country club. It wasn't that somebody could sue the POA, although there was people who did sue individual board members, because I was one of the board members, Woolridge was one of the board members at the time. But that was an individual lawsuit. It was slightly different. It wasn't suing the POA specifically.
Kathy, you wanted to finish?
Yeah, respectfully, Dave, and all the board members, as Lisa mentioned, we're looking for transparency. And, you know.
Oh, I'm good with that, so it's
May I
fine.
speak, Dave? I believe it's my turn. Thank you. Right across the board, you know, because there's owners here that have been here for 20 plus years, 10 plus years. You know, ask Linda, they did the whole thing. There's people that have been here for 5, I would deign to say that if you've been here for under 8 years, you have no idea what lawsuits happened, who was in them, and that's what we're looking for. If it turns out that the answer is nobody, that's transparent. So, you know, as you're getting vagueness as far as, well, we did this one and this one, cut the vagueness, cut the gray area. We want black and white. We're here, we want to be informed voters.
Well, I can
Thank
tell you
you.
with all confidence, I've never sued the POA or Ranger yet. It's me personally.
We're not asking that.
I will get that I'll reach out to the attorney and I'll give it to John. He can get it to you directly, and it can be, I believe it can be put on the website if it is there, because I know the country club has a lot of legal actions on there as well.
If anybody wants to, I mean, I don't think it's against any rules, then chime in if you think it is. If anybody has something specific you want to ask the candidates, now that I'm Secretary Junior, I'll be glad to forward your questions to the candidates.
Yes, Kathy?
I can't make them answer it, but
I appreciate that, but that unfortunately relies on the candidate being honest and truthful and black and white. Whereas the board has the documents, has the absolute proof, and has been sworn in to uphold this community. And therefore, I think if you're looking for a absolute black and white, it would be best coming from the board, straight with the facts.
We'll make sure with the attorney is not crossing any lines to be able to do it. And if he says, okay, we'll do it. Otherwise, I'll help you get the question to the candidates.
Who was next? I don't know. Kent?
No,
Talon?
that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
It's late, you guys.
So, Ken, to let you know, so that, I think it's great, we need to come up with, I'm talking about the water going over the dam, the no wait thing.
Yes.
But boy, just, it could be right there, and just an inch of rain adds 6 inches to the lake. So I mean, you'll be putting the flag up and down a lot. I'm just, it could come out to that.
I understand.
But that's fine.
Hopefully it doesn't.
But the lake is gonna be no wake a lot more doing that, which is fine with me.
We'll
too.
see, we'll see.
Yeah.
I can't see the future, but I can tell you that if it's gonna, the reason I got on this board was to preserve the safety, the enjoyment, and the investment you have in this community. And that's exactly why I did this. That's why I called the different people.
Yeah, but I agree with you 100%, but I'm just saying, boy, an inch of rain does a lot sometimes.
Well, and that's why this lake, that's why every lake has a spillway and says, okay, this is enough.
Yeah, so, getting to your point, about the committee members, who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that. We even had this with the security, I've had it with, on the security team and on the ACC and in rules committees, when we're all talking about these things. And for instance, something gets done down at the beach, and an object gets put up down at the beach, and all of a sudden it wasn't approved by ACC. Well, now all of a sudden, is it ACC that has to put the censor against this? Is it the Lakes and Beaches that has to put the censor against this? Is it rules that has to pick up the ball? We don't know. It's pretty much just like on security. Somebody drives through the gate.
Right.
Okay, somebody drives through the gate, knocks the gate off. I gotta go put it back up. That's fine. But then who sends out the censor? Does the security team put out the censor? Does Ray put it out as so this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of crossover from, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and it would be nice to have.
And I'm not the kind of person that says, okay, here's who to blame for this happening. I don't care about that. I'm just saying, going forward, I would like some clarification on how do we operate collaboratively so that we serve the community as much as possible in the best way we can.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Well, I can help you with that. I was going to offer some free resources. If you go online, go to HOAlife.com or Community Association Institute, which is the CAI.com. All Property Management has a guidebook for board members. It gives you, there's all kinds of free information, and I'll be happy to send you what I have too, because
sure, I'm Director 4.
Huh?
Director 4.
Okay.
He's Vice President, not Director 4.
But I would prefer it goes to Director 4, but that doesn't matter. Either way, I'll get it either way. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be happy to do it.
I just think that we should. I just think that the board could be much more collaborative if we had more communication.
And there are collaborative tools.
Communication is the root of all relationships.
Right. And 4 years ago, it was suggested that you guys adopt Slack or something like Google Workspace.
I don't know about 4 years ago, that's not what I'm saying.
I know, but what I'm saying-
Going forward.
Going forward, and
How
yes.
can we best serve the community? And I think that's by communicating better.
Okay,
And if
and
there's
then,
a tool, I'll be
right.
happy to look at it.
Embracing tools that are real-time collaboration, and they're out
Right,
there.
right.
And yes, I hope to get on the board and institute that.
Mike Camden.
Mike Camden. I think you all received one of these when you walked in. I just want to mention a couple things.
And Linda did a good job.
She did. You notice a little sticker that says start here. That talks about the assessment table. I have a little video of me trying to explain it. Hopefully it helps. I also want to mention that we have a town hall next Monday up here in the office, 7 o'clock. Have Q&A of ballot items. And then a reminder, as mentioned earlier, September 8th, meet the candidates at Pavilion. Try to get out there and meet them and ask them questions.
Do you do the time on that already?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 at the pavilion.
And it's at the pavilion.
At the Pavilion.
Okay.
Are you bringing beer?
I'm not.
You want to be.
It'll be a great meeting.
That's how you get the real.
Chris.
I'll try to be quick. Chris Waller. So just to start off, I want to know, is anyone else concerned that we had a closed meeting just before this meeting? And we don't know what that meeting was about? Nobody's concerned?
I believe they did mention what they were talking about.
No,
They were
well-
talking about the,
CPM.
No, actually, what it says is for admin, is the agenda. That's what it says. And, but that, okay, so my second question, does anybody know what the valid reasons to have a closed meeting are?
I thought it was just for, when you're talking about employee, private compensation
It
and
is
employee.
correct?
And
Yes,
legal.
it is. About hiring, firing, discipline, or
Contract negotiations.
actually,
And real
contract
estate.
negotiations is not a closed meeting because it is not a legal matter, and it's not a
If it's
administration.
replacing employees, it is.
Right. If you, but you're looking at, actually, you're looking at employee, you're looking at an employee offset. You're not looking at hiring and firing. You're looking at hiring another company to do the job that they were doing. That is not employee management. That is not administration of employees.
They stated, there was discussion between the 2 days, and G brought up that they should be, that the person being let go would be union representation or whatever. But so yeah, there was discussion.
There's never no meeting with
about letting go.
anybody from the office though, with the board in a closed board meeting.
There was no employee present at that employee closed
They didn't need
meeting.
to be, they're not on the board.
Can we let him finish?
Chris, you need to ask her an excuse that you had the floor and you were talking. Ask her to be quiet, so you can
So
talk.
from my
like she said to them.
From my interpretation, this was not a valid
Okay.
use of closed meeting. And you're welcome to go out to Sunshine Law as I did and look this up in Missouri Sunshine Law section. And it does not meet the requirements of a closed meeting.
Oh, it's on.
Second, there was a closed meeting in June, and I could not find anywhere on the website on any minutes or any type of summary of the closed meeting that was in June. One of the requirements of having a closed meeting, if you do, it must be published within 72 hours of the results of the closed meeting and any votes that were taken, and the votes have to be by roll call for everybody that voted. So you're supposed to publish the results. Which brings me back to tonight's meeting. They had a closed meeting prior to this decision, and we don't have the notes, the minutes, the decisions that were made during that closed meeting. But yet, at the board meeting, We're voting using information that was obtained during that closed meeting.
Well, didn't you just say we have 72 hours to post that?
Yes, but I'm saying you took action at this meeting on those minutes, or on those decisions in that closed meeting. So, and then, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So that leads me up to my last question, and I'll let you guys go. Is before today's vote, how much time was given to board members to review the information outside of this 1 hour closed meeting before having to vote on it and take action at the board meeting?
So myself and John over 2 years, and we shared this with numerous other board members that have resigned. They've had the CPM and the City and Village and the Smith for over a month.
But CPM
is new, you just set
No.
that up. You just set that up to us.
You got the quote from CPM, the early
You
part
got
of
your
it?
vote, you sent us a contract a week ago.
I get it.
Okay, a week.
Barely a week.
The answer is 1 week for all board members to review this and 1 hour prior to the board meeting. And that's my concern.
Okay, that's your concern. The vote wasn't even close.
Chris, was you, if there is if there is some sort of discussion at a closed board meeting, it has to be 72 hours before the board can vote on it, or?
That would have to do more research on that. I just know that the requirement is that you're supposed to publish the results of a closed meeting within 72 hours.
Rather not.
Had there been an active secretary, we would have done that.
I don't think you can use that as an excuse.
There's
for
a
any other
summary on
meeting.
the June, I did a summary
No,
on
you
the
didn't.
June meeting. I did a June, it's on the
We did a
website.
summary. There's nothing there about
I
the
don't know.
votes that were taken.
It's true.
And
The what?
there were, those are generated, looks like by AI, it says at the
There
top.
was a vote.
And there is nothing about motions or votes that were taken during that meeting. And who was present at that meeting.
Yes, I have who was present. Glenn was absent. Glenn was not present at this meeting.
Well, that doesn't tell me, that doesn't tell me who the members were at the time either. Saying Glenn wasn't there, we've seen how much turnover we've had in 1 year, doesn't tell me who was at the meeting. And it also doesn't say who voted on what.
Thank you for your info.
That is true, that is true. You really should have how each person voted specifically on each item
Well, and-
at the end of, yes, the minutes.
In particular, are you talking about the vote for Smith back in June?
Yes.
Okay,
On
that
all
was done,
items.
that was done.
There's
in
nothing
public.
in the minutes
Oh, I don't know
about
about that.
There's nothing in the
Sorry.
minutes. I wasn't here for that.
Got
I
it.
haven't had a chance to spend 2 hours to listen to the video.
Got it.
And there's nothing in the minutes about the
understand.
motions that were taken and what the votes were.
Yes, sir.
Change the direction here a little bit. My question's for John. You brought up the problem with some damaged property that belongs to Raintree, and it came up to like $3,000 to $6,000. And it was committed by somebody who lives in Raintree. What are we doing to recover our money?
I'll answer that.
Glenn, answer it. He's-
Glenn, number one, we've arrested him.
Well, we have.
Jeffco Sheriff arrested him. We have it all on video. We're gonna censure him for every penny or the family. And we'll try to make that money back. But we have to get the camera back, we gotta get the gates up to speed, we gotta get an RFID reader that's not just beating the hell.
Okay, I understand
I'll
all
post the
that.
video, but I don't think that's really legal.
But I think that you have to understand also, you can use the prosecuting attorney's office to help you retain that money.
He said that you can use the prosecuting or the prosecutor's office to recoup that money.
You know what, I called them yesterday morning, guys, and they told me it'd be 6 months before they could get back to me.
Well, that may be true because it's Jefferson County. But I'm gonna tell you that if
There's a lot of stuff
if you
going on.
commit-
Property damage,
if you commit a
and they
property
said
damage
we
to
might
an
get back to
individual,
you in 6 months.
that may be true, but you're still gonna recover it when they reach a settlement with this person in a criminal court. For him to avoid going to jail, part of his settlement, and you have to make sure you're clear with this to the prosecutor, is reimbursement for the damages.
You can help me.
Yeah, he's saying that if you use the prosecuting attorney and you get a judgment against him, it's a criminal offense, and then you can go after him financially for it, right?
And then
May I
will
respond
say
to that in light of
the
the
answer
mailbox
was,
discussion?
no chance in hell we'll get the money from him. And that was from the prosecuting attorney.
I couldn't hear what he said,
He
Dave.
said there was no chance in hell that we would get the money from him, from the prosecuting attorney.
Well, a judge will not sign off on it if you request it
I'm
as
just
a
relaying
board.
information.
Yeah, Glenn's just telling us what it was told to him.
You need to go a little higher up the chain then.
Pretty much laughing.
We can check into it.
That's good information for us, maybe
This
get that
man
to us
doesn't want to
later.
go to jail, you'll pay him.
Kathy?
Okay, the mailbox destruction was done in June, July of last year, correct? Okay, it's still ongoing.
That's, the difference between that and this is that's private property.
No,
But this is POA property.
which is private property,
But-
which is considered private property.
Every
It's not
homeowner-
governmental, it's not an institution, it's private
So
property.
you're not letting me finish. You're one owner, you're one destruction of property, okay? What they're talking about is thousands of dollars. You're-
And so am I.
Kathy,
Your mailbox
the big
is
difference
not enough
is
to constitute a
we
felony.
can't prosecute or we can't file a claim on behalf of a private owner.
I understand that, but you're questioning the time frame, correct?
Oh, I see what you're
It
saying.
may take a
You're
while.
questioning the time frame,
It may take a while.
correct? Right, and that's why I'm saying, you're not, don't look for the money next week or the week after or before December. You know,
I'll give
it
you that,
takes
and the
time.
justice system works slowly.
Yes, it does.
But
And as
there's
far
no
as
reason-
Jefferson County is the largest county in the state of Missouri. So yes, they have a lot to deal with.
But they have to deal with it by law.
Yes, they
You
do,
file a
and they
complaint,
are,
they
and they
have to
are.
enforce it.
As she just mentioned, look at KSNet, follow it by KSNet.
All right, I was just wanting to know if we're going to try to recover money.
Some more information.
Linda,
He's trying to find out if you guys are gonna recover the money.
we don't know yet. We
Well,
got
honest
it.
interruption.
Well, I don't, maybe I should rephrase it, are you attempting, are you? going
Yes, he was
forward?
arrested.
You know,
He-
we as a community, this is our money, you're spending our money to fix this damage that this person did. So, somebody needs to represent this community with the prosecuting attorney's office and see to it that they make it part of this guy's settlement. If he wants to avoid jail time because he committed a criminal offense, he has to pay the damages back. Any judge sitting on a bench will rule in your favor.
Okay, hang on a minute. What they're saying, Glenn, is that being arrested, to avoid jail time, he has to remediate the cost associated with the damage. And I assume that that's the path the sheriff's department is going down after arresting him.
Correct.
We'll get a civil,
That'll be 6 months from now when they find the prosecutor. They did say, and I don't know if anyone can hear me, but they said property damage is lowest on their list. It's the lowest. That's why it'll take 6 months for them to get back with us. You know, we live in Jefferson County. There's plenty more than property damage that they have to go investigate.
Does he know if your case has been presented
That's why
to
we
the
need more money
prosecuting
to
attorney's
secure.
office?
Haven't
probably
heard.
not yet. Do you know if it has been passed on to the prosecuting attorney yet?
It's at the prosecuting attorney's office.
It's at the office.
Waiting for them, so
Yep.
they've issued
Yep.
a
Arrested,
warrant
brought
for this
in,
individual?
got out, no bail. and at the prosecuting attorney's office.
Okay.
I can give everyone the case number, you can call all you want.
Thanks. Linda?
Linda Camden. I have some unfinished business and some new business. I wrote it all up, scribbled some things, so it's going to take a moment, folks, so please bear with me. Before the June board meeting, Mike and I wrote an email to all board expressing why we thought a professional management company would be best for Raintree. We shared that 2 years ago, our assessment check of $500 plus took 6 weeks to clear the bank. In that email, I also noted that someone had recently said their April check from this year for stickers still had not cleared, so it had been 3 months back in June. That owner recently told me it finally cleared a week ago, so it took 4 months. The check was misplaced. Mike also wrote in that email, he wrote up a paragraph about how rubber wasn't being used by the office staff, how it was intended, and his concern was about duplicate work or possibly duplicate set of stickers were going to be issued. To our surprise, during that meeting, Dave Getty read our email aloud during open forum without asking us if we would be okay with that. Dave asked Wendy, the office manager who was present then, what the processes were for depositing checks and handling rubber. There was a little bit of back and forth about the processes, and Tilly, the board secretary at the time, shared that she recently found out that the scanner used for depositing checks hadn't been working properly since Haley has been in the office, which is 2 years. Later in social media, Getty stated that Wendy was attacked at that meeting by owners. To me, that means us, because that's who was talking about it, and by the board. I reached out to Getty to clear the air. We had a Zoom chat about it. I told him that I didn't appreciate him using the word attacked because I believe those emotionally inflamed words have their legitimate place in the world, but not to describe what I thought was a civil conversation at a board meeting. I'm a mental fitness coach, and I teach my clients how the brain works and how these kinds of words take a toll on your mental wellness as well as stress on the body. On the Zoom call, Getty, you did say you thought attack was appropriate. So I believe it's this kind of language on social media that contributes to the negativity that Tilly had brought up already and is ruining the reputation of Raintree. And Dave, you had said in this meeting, you said that June meeting was disgusting. I think that's what you said. And so I'm going to say to you, you were the one that opened up the discussion in public. Okay, Mike and I wrote that private email to the board, no idea that you would bring it in public. So if it got disgusting, I'm just going to say you opened the door to that. But I'm going to say to future boards and the candidates in here, I would suggest that you get permission from the owner before you share what they've written, right? That to me seems like makes sense. Okay, so that was the unfinished business. Fast forward to the present. I'd like to share what I experienced when I volunteered for 6 or 7 days in the office, late June and early July. First and foremost, I think Haley did an awesome job stepping up with anything and everything she had to handle, being the only employee in the office to hold the fort down. She graciously accepted volunteer help to answer the phones, we returned messages, and we helped the owners at the window. As it's been said here a couple of times now, this is our money. And so I really appreciate that you said yes to the professional services, yay, yay, yay. And in light of transparency that Kathy, you brought up a moment ago, I will share what I witnessed when I helped in the office. There were stacks and stacks of owner file folders on every flat surface in the office. Some were even stacked on the floors. There were owner's checks laying around in various places, not secured. And I asked Haley if they had been deposited yet, and she said no. And some were from months ago, okay? When I felt that Haley was more comfortable having my help in the office, I suggested that she find a secure place to keep those checks so they weren't laying around about, because I also knew that there were some other volunteers coming in to answer the phones. I didn't want them seeing all their checks, somebody's checks laying about. And I also encouraged throughout those days that the depositing of checks be a high priority, that by the end of every day that those checks, get deposited. And Tilly and I had a conversation. Haley at the time was not feeling well, so it's like, what if Haley doesn't come in and she's the only one that can do credit card processing? Can we take checks and get them up to the bank? And so Tilly and I created a process to do just that. Sure enough, on a Friday, Haley was not feeling well. We said, let's scoop up all the checks. Tilly, you ran that up to the bank that day, and there were close to $2,000 of checks that, got in on a Friday instead of waiting till, I guess, who knows, Tuesday or who knows what. So I feel that, we have helped in that regard. I recently asked Haley how she thought things were going in the office. After she told me what she thought, I asked if she would write it up, and she gave me permission to read it tonight. She said, Rever is something that not only makes it easier when it comes to selling stickers and doing office procedures like having forms filled out and collecting paperwork in the office, but it makes it easier for people to upload their stuff and come into the office for 5 minutes to pay and pick up their stuff, since not everyone has time to come in and sit in line. I would say paperwork being in Rever is more at our fingertips than looking them up and grabbing their folder to find information. Office procedures have changed for the better. We have thought about things that can make things go more smoothly at a better pace and made things not only simple but more efficient. That's from Haley Harlow.
Thank you.
Well, I want to ask a question, because now you're talking about all these checks laying around all over the office. Now, it's just Haley back there, right?
That day, of course.
Okay, so.
But some of them were dated March, April. There's different stacks, and it was amazing to me why they were out. A lot of them were campground checks for people that had already camped.
So what do you think happened there? What do you think, if all those checks are still laid around and Haley's in there and there's other volunteers, so, is Haley not doing the job properly? Is that what
Some of
you're
those
saying?
checks were from March and April. This is, our volunteer time came in late June.
So I'm just asking you, so was Haley supposed to pick those up?
I do not know.
So you don't know the process
I
at
don't know
all?
the process.
And then with the part about River earlier that you mentioned that, you didn't know whether or not somebody's information was entered in a River. How would you know that? If she did or didn't, how would you know that information was entered in a River?
I'm not sure what you're referring
The
to right
day you
now.
said he came in, and you said he wasn't sure if it was,
I was talking to him outside before the office opened. He
And-
said he'd entered his stuff in Rever.
okay,
He came in to pick up
and he
his
came in to pick it up.
Yeah.
So, but then there was the comment about that who didn't enter it into River. You said the guy did enter it to River.
He did
So
enter it.
what was the miscommunication?
So the
that
question
office did?
was the office then entering it into Rever to complete the process? Were they handling it manually outside of Rever?
So do you know?
I don't.
Okay, so,
And
I
I'll
don't understand that
chime in
point.
here. I'm a process guy. Obviously, the processes were broken. It doesn't matter who broke them, they're broken. They're broken.
no, all I can say is for the past several months, there's been several discussions about the office.
Glenn is speaking. Go ahead, finish, Glenn.
We can only move forward. The processes were broken. I don't care why.
But no investigation has been made, no inquiry has been
It's
made.
overwhelmed, underwhelmed, not trained, undertrained. We can alleviate all this. And that's why we did this. That's why I voted for CPM.
Tom?
Going back to the perpetrator of the damage, are we pursuing ourselves through our own means, censors, to recover the money? And are we actively trying to repair the equipment?
For the gate stuff?
I can answer the repair, we just approved the invoices tonight to proceed
So
with Dayton to fix it.
And censure-wise, it'll be coming out this week. I needed to get a copy of the censure form letter.
is there
To be
anything
able
from
to
the
edit it.
police report that you can get out of that too?
That would be
Is there anything in
my
the police
question.
report that could help us get our money quicker than 6 months?
Glenn, is there anything in the police report that would help us get our money? So you mean from a censure perspective?
Right,
That's all on us. Censure the homeowner.
Do you think having a copy of the police report would help when we send the censure out?
No, they know that the grandson got arrested, so
Okay.
that's key, but we can send a video of him wrestling the gate and everything else.
Censure, how is City and Village should do that? That's not like an assessment.
No, they won't.
You gotta send me who to send. who to censure, how much,
I mean, typically, if there's damage done,
and the damage.
there's an investigation, and then a letter is sent out. And when it's a little bit more extreme, we've even had people come up to the office just to confront them with the evidence, you know, and let them have the opportunity to make good or not.
I guess once we send the censure out, then we'll find out whether or not they're gonna pay it or ignore it, and then we can take a step further.
I'm assuming if they talk to the police extensively,
Yeah.
then they've probably seen the evidence.
Yeah, I would think that once they get the censure, they're gonna know they're guilty. Or somebody's gonna,
He admitted to the crime
okay.
when he got arrested.
So it sounds like it could be open and
Well, like
shut.
this gentleman was pointing out,
Right, but
if
it's
there's
6 months
restitution,
until we figure that out.
if there's restitution before it gets in front of a judge and they can come to the judge and say, look, you know, we made good on this, you know, I don't mean make a profit on it, but there's been a lot of time put into this. I mean, hours on my part,
Right.
you know.
But all that is part of your settlement when you go to.
Correct.
What
Correct.
Tom's saying is
Anyway.
it's not just the cost of the
You just need to
repairs,
make
but the
sure
time
you
that a lot
report
of
the hours.
people have put in trying to prosecute and repair and watching video and
I mean, you
whatnot.
got-
So one other gentleman said that's all part of what would be the settlement agreement.
Yeah, but if we agree to a settlement with them
Couldn't agree
before,
more. I wonder when we get our day in court with that.
Right.
or would we,
They're willing to pay us beforehand.
So
yeah.
the
Are you
problem with
concerned
us
that
going after them
Well,
internally
I
is we
wonder-
can't put time on it that isn't part of a repair, I don't think.
Well, I mean, but there's time that Dan Ozaliski puts into it, which is gonna be in his bill, I'm sure. There's time that I put
That's
into it.
That's it, his time's in the bill.
Right.
We approved tonight.
But now I'm wondering, if we do that, do we negate any possibility of him, you know, actually, besides monetary
Going to jail.
punishment, actually get punished?
That would be-
If you
that's-
saw his video,
Okay.
this is a violent person that needs to not be
You guys
just like
got,
that.
you got three alternatives here, three things going on. You got a criminal thing, you got a civil thing, and you got Rain Creek's censor thing. Okay? The criminal thing is going to be your best avenue. But, with that being said, it's like the other lady said, it's gonna take some time. We're gonna be out the money to fix these things before your money comes back. But if somebody stays on the prosecutor and says, hey, he's gonna get 5 years in penitentiary, he's gonna get this, he's gonna get that, whatever the charges are. If he gives us restitution, we're fine with probation,
There you go.
and they settle. Then you get your money, or you continue with a civil action,
I would agree with that. I don't know who's talking, but I would agree completely.
or you continue with a
Get the
civil
money,
action,
and
which
then we will
is
not
totally
charge
separate.
felony.
Totally separate from the criminal. The board sues you. And then you have a civil action there. Cost you money. Prosecutor doesn't cost you any money. Then you have your censor thing. Now, you can bring this guy in and you can say, hey, if you really want to get out of this problem with the criminal court, law enforcement's not going to like this one. But you can say to him, if you settle this, our recommendation is we'll drop the charges. But law enforcement does not want to hear that, and if you do that often enough, law enforcement will back off and help you.
We've experienced that.
So Glenn, what he's saying, if we go after them internally or civilly prior to the criminal charge, that if we do that over and over, they're gonna act like we're wasting their time and not help us going forward, correct?
You keep dropping criminal charges, the policeman that comes out here is gonna say, you guys don't really want to prosecute anyway, why are you wasting my time?
Right.
Well, what they tell me is that if I bring it to them, if I bring this to the prosecutor, they're not gonna do anything about it.
That's what they told Glenn.
But that's what the officer says. If you don't like that answer, go to the watch commander. You don't like that answer, you go to the shift commander. You don't like that answer, you go to the chief, sheriff's office. Until you find somebody who's gonna listen. When you're talking $6,000, I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of money in my
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah. Tilly?
I just have a question, like, Desiree, once you send out a censure, don't they have like 14 days to pay up? Is it?
Technically, yes, it's 14 days.
You're going to damage your criminal case with this censor thing. If he comes in and says, okay, I'll give you your money, and then you drop the charges, you do that 3, 4, 5 times every time you have a problem, the county of Jefferson County is gonna say, we don't want anything to do with Braintree.
Well, let me say something to that. Joe, right?
Yeah.
I personally, I get it, people invest a lot of time, but we got Dan's time in here and probably need to add maybe some other time, but wouldn't it make more sense for Braintree that if we do a censure, instead of going to the criminal phase, and we get our money like that on all, say, 10 of these, whatever, how many are out there, versus submitting criminal acts and waiting 2 to 3, 4, well, I mean, you've been waiting a year already. I mean, at least we get recouped right away, and maybe by doing that, they're less likely to do it again.
No, they're not less likely to do
No,
it.
he's more likely to do it.
These are criminal things.
Well, I mean, at the end of
Censure system, have it be immediate.
It's not gonna be immediate when you go to the criminal trial.
Follow-up letters.
That's your best avenue.
I don't know much about this situation. To me, it sounds like the board has an obligation to censor property owner who's responsible for the damage. They're pursuing that. The law enforcement has their own obligation to pursue criminal activity. The two don't necessarily coincide with one another. Our feedback we've received from the prosecutor's office is that this is their lowest priority thing. And while that may be true for them, it's of a high priority for us because we are already just approved paying out $3,700 to pay for these repairs. So my personal opinion is that it is our responsibility to recoup the money and the time that we put into this, and that is our first priority. It is great to work with the law enforcement organization to try to resolve this situation so that everybody's happy, but if they're telling us that we're at the bottom of the totem pole, then we might as well do whatever is our means so that we can try to recoup the money as quickly as possible. I don't know what all comes in with censure, what sort of, I imagine it comes with a lien on the house of the property owner who
It all
has
goes
the
to a lien
relation.
on their house, they can't sell without that lien.
Yeah.
They're censured and they don't pay.
But the charges aren't automatically dropped. We're not gonna drop the charges if we send the censure.
No, but he can come to court and say, hey, I've made good on this, and they're gonna ask us, and we're probably gonna say, well,
Well, you can mention that in the censure letter that this not necessarily made good.
Well, that's true.
Your whole-
Or we could make sure that says, hey, if you pay in this amount of time, then yeah, we will decide to drop the charges. I mean, to us, the most important thing to us is
money.
getting the payment, getting whatever, $6,000 for this thing. And if people
We
are,
need to get our money.
if people are promptly being censored, we are recouping those funds, then that is a deterrent. I mean, this kid, or whoever, I don't know how old he is, I'm saying this kid, but he's not gonna be the one even paying. He may be the one going to jail. Whatever we do isn't gonna be a deterrent for him or other people like him. But if people are having to be held accountable financially, then that is something. And I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, maybe I'm on the short side.
Glenn, you had something to say?
I'm just saying that the system of hoping someone gets a letter out and not knowing if they got the letter out to censure the property owner, this is antiquated, guys. We have to just do it online. I need to be able to know if the censure was sent. I have to know how many days old it is. We have to send the reminder and then the double reminder and then interest on the censure. No, it doesn't happen.
As far as the rule in censure goes, there was always either one or the other. It was either we sent the censure or we sent it with the sheriff's department. There wasn't always a both, because that was brought up in a conversation, I believe, last year. Because when the kid was knocking down mailboxes, I believe there was concern about if he had done anything on common ground, and we had said, either we could do something as far as censuring him or let the sheriff's department take care of it, because there's property owners involved with private property They said it was just easier to let the sheriffs handle it. Because once you bring them in,
Is that the mailbox is their property.
right, but at the same time, it's either one or the other. There wasn't a matter of doing both.
But in that circumstance though, that there is a difference between the fact that the cost of repair is going onto an individual property owner, where this is thousands of dollars worth of repair being on the
And
property
it's a
owner.
functional impairment too.
And it's secure, I mean, and it's not some, it's of critical importance because it's part of the safety of the community. So it's not something that we can just overlook and hold off until we let the court proceedings take their place. You know,
Totally agree.
so,
That's why we're censuring it.
So then we need to
And-
drop the suit
and
once
with
we
a
set
better
the censure.
system,
I don't know what the rules are on that. I think we'd have to ask an expert.
They,
you know.
now we got to the point where.
The attorney did say, he said, this will never end in money, it'll be a deal, plea deal. Like,
There's-
we got some money from it.
Right.
There's a process,
Being honest.
which I wasn't even aware of. We have a mailbox damage, and then I got a check from some restitution system in the courts. One, would that apply here? What do we have to do to get restitution if he's convicted? And another thing, again, if we've said that we're going to pursue this legally, we better not back off. We'll get our money.
Well, the big issue you got is the kid who got arrested is not the property owner. His grandmother, I believe, is the one who's the property owner. They're the one that's gonna get hit with the
Well, if
censure.
there's restitution through the courts,
He'll get hit.
I don't know how that happens, but I don't think he.
Is he an
I'm
adult?
not sure how, huh?
Is he an adult?
No,
He's probably a legal adult.
he's a.
Oh, you have to be a 17.
License plate.
He's that. Yeah. But again, I just want to emphasize, don't back off of the legal thing, all right?
I don't know.
Because they will not talk to
I
us.
don't see how the two are necessarily correlated because the person who, that's their guest. So we have a property owner whose guest that damaged our gate. And we are having to immediately fix that. And so that should be paid, that should be put on the property owner who is ultimately responsible. And it seems like a separate issue from the legal proceedings.
He tried to use the gate card, they're delinquent, it didn't work, the gate cards were turned off, and he got pissed.
So the grandparents are delinquent too?
No, it got turned off because
No, it got turned off afterwards.
previous occurrence.
Oh,
Right, it
Like
got turned
days
off.
before, just 2 days.
So, I mean, just from the outside looking in, I have no legal expertise, but I don't see how the two are correlated necessarily. I think the property owner owes us restitution for the gate. I feel like the courts need to go after this person for property damage.
I think what he's saying is technically it's the property owner that's violated the covenants or violated the rules by having their guests break the rules. So we can censure them. And this person wouldn't be able to say, well, I've already paid restitution. No, because that was a censure to your grandmother.
Yeah, it has no, I mean, yeah, I don't think that it has.
Individuals should still get the prosecution.
The same message.
That's two separate things.
Dave, you cannot hold a third party financially responsible for somebody who's a relative who committed a criminal
Well, it's in
act.
our covenants, Joe.
Their guest, now, if he was breaking in, that's.
Hang on a minute, too many people are
You
talking.
can censor them all you want, but you cannot make them pay for their damages.
If my brother came in here and drove through the gate, I would think that I would be responsible for paying that.
You won't be a.
Well, do you have a brother?
I have 3 of them.
Okay.
And,
But if you chose not to pay the censure, you would no longer be in good standing after.
yeah, so then yes, I could just say, you know, I'm not gonna do that, whatever, you know. I can, or try to get the money from my brother, but it's still on me. It's my guess.
So-
This person is.
Let's put this to rest. We have prosecuted him, he's been arrested. He is gonna be charged with a crime at some point or time. We go after the grandparents, which has no monetary relationship to the grandson, so he cannot stand in front of the judge and say, I already paid this. We didn't get nothing from the grandson, technically. So let's go that route and see how it happens.
I think Chris had a question.
Yes.
I have one more thing. Just one of our boards to be here just to clarify, closed meetings are allowed for contract negotiations if it's to review closed bids, and this was not a closed bid. But I had a question about, do we have numbers for what the current cost is for running the office compared to what the cost for CPM is going to run?
Yes.
The current cost to run the office is $185,861. And the quote from CPM included them taking employees on 146.
That amount includes maintenance, office and maintenance.
You're saying that
Looking right at the documents.
185 is what it currently costs, and they're giving us a bid for 146 to cover everything that the office currently does?
For the first year.
Yeah, and then it escalates after.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And then it escalates after that,
It escalates after that.
up to 150, 160.
Okay, there hasn't been a year go by since I've been on the board that the office hasn't got an increase. So
And-
everything's gonna go up.
So, and my last question is there a plan in place to track that cost either monthly or quarterly to see how it compares to the bid that we received, to see if we're going to be on track or not, and is that going to be published?
Yes. And yes.
Thank you.
Contract paid monthly.
Any other questions? All right, thanks folks for showing up, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
I